for our blue wash, I've drawn like a little scene here. I just drew like a mountain and then some distant trees at the base of the mountain. And then I drew these like 3 other trees. One kind of in the mid distance here. And then one in the foreground. Maybe I'll make this one. Yeah, it's a little bit lower. This one's a little bit bigger. So foreground, midground, distant tree. And, I kind of balanced it, the big one with the 2 smaller ones over here. I'm just going to do a little mini landscape here, and I'll show you a couple little techniques on a very small scale. So you can kind of draw in something like this, and I'll show you what we're going to do. Let's see which brush. All right, so we're going to make the distant mountain. Let's grab my number 4 here. I'm going to mix up a couple of colors, so I'll start with some blue for the distant mountain. Not too heavy. Then I'm going to grab some more blue. Throw it over here. It's going to be a little bit thicker. And then I'm going to, let's grab some yellow, because I'm going to turn this into a green. And I guess I want it to be a blue-green, but I want it to be a little bit darker. I'm going to add a touch of red to it to deepen it up. Sorry, I'm putting red over here. I don't know if you can see that or not. Yeah. Need that a little bit thicker. Maybe that'll be alright. The more I added to it, the thinner it got. And I need a touch of yellow, but I gotta wash out my brush. I think my yellow is kind of watered down. That's part of the problem. Ugh. Crazy dark. I should have already had these ready to go. Now it's not turning green anymore. Now I'm getting yellowish purple. There we go. Just a touch more blue. Dry out the brush. There we go. Alright, let's go with that. Kind of a blue-green, but kind of deep. To start, do I still have any blue left here? I had water in my palette because I just cleaned it out. Alright, just a faint blue. Then I'll show you what we're going to do with that green. Okay. So I'm going to paint around my trees here. Paint our blue mountain. Paint around our trees here a little bit. Make sure your blue is, staying wet. You don't want it to dry out on you. Okay. Maybe I'll lift a little bit of color. A little bit. I just dried out my brush and I'm just lifting a little bit here at the bottom. Alright. I don't want it to completely dry though. Alright, now I'm going to take my green that I made, my blue-green, and I'm just going to touch it down. Bleed, bleed, bleed. I want it to bleed up into the blue. There we go. I was afraid it dried out on me. And I could have tilted my board here a little bit. But I wanted that blue, I wanted that green to bleed up into, and actually I think I'm going to tilt my board here a little bit. Hopefully I'm still on camera, because I want the dark part to kind of end up at the bottom a little bit, because that's where, you know, the shadows are. So I wanted that to sort of bleed up into the blue so it makes it kind of fuzzy and you know, blurred as if it's off in the distance, plus it gives an irregularity to that. Then what we're going to do is I'm going to grab some yellow. It's kind of greenish. I want to do sort of a dead grass-ish thing. Maybe I'll grab some of my, what is that, raw sienna? Throw that in there. I don't care if it has a little green in it. Maybe that's a little too brown. Get some yellow back in there. I want to create like sort of a dead grass look. Yeah, that's fine. It's got a little bit of greenishness in there too. There we go. All right. So what I'm going to do is, let's see, is my green dried? I'm going to paint this. This is going to be my grass, and I can paint right over my tree trunks. And it's okay if that green hasn't dried a little bit. If you get a little bleeding there, that's all right. Because that, all right. And then what I'm going to do is, I don't know, maybe I'll streak a little green in there, just some texture, a little wet and wet here and there. You know, so where you got some green or some other things growing in there. You could even take a little bit of brown too. It's all going to kind of mix in if it's wet. You know, if you're streaking something in there and you want it to stay, the thicker it is, the less it's going to move. And maybe I'll even just take my brush here, dry it out. And I might even lift a little bit of color from the distance to make it seem further away. I'm washing my brush. You know, because things get lighter as they get further away. So there we go. We got a little bit of texture. We got our distant mountain. We got some trees bled up into there. We got some grass. Okay, and the color gets more concentrated at the bottom. So the further things are, you know, atmospheric perspective. All right, we can let that dry, and then we'll paint the trees. All right. Now all we've got to do is paint these trees here in front. So with, if you remember from Studio Art, warmer colors appear closer, cooler colors farther away. That's why we have these bluish green trees off in the background, blue mountain in the background. Because of atmospheric perspective, things get lighter, fuzzier, and cooler as they get further away. So these trees, we want to, as we make our green, the one in the foreground is going to be the warmest. So what I'm going to do, I'll start again here. My paint's kind of dried out because I had to go and do other things. So what I'm going to do is, I got kind of a green over here, which is fine because I'm going to make green anyway. But I really kind of want like an orange. All right, so let me make some, obviously yellow is going to make, with the blue is going to make green. Okay, so I kind of have an orange color here, and I could maybe use the raw sienna or burnt sienna, but it seems to make more of a dull blue. So what I'm going to do is add a little bit of this to my blue. Okay. And that's a little bit warmer, definitely, than that in the background. So, and I can even test out my color a little bit here. Check it out. Yeah. Might even want just a tad more blue in that. Cool it off a little bit. Push it back. Cooling it off pushes it back. Okay, so I'll paint this tree. I could probably go smaller. Yeah, I'll just paint it with this. Okay. So there that is, kind of sticking out. I'll worry about the shadows and stuff underneath there later on. Alrighty. I almost wish that was a little bit more opaque, but that'll work. So now what I'll do is I'll grab some more orange, and I want to warm that color more orange. Doesn't seem to, didn't really get more orange, did it? There we go. It's about the same, actually. Gosh. Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely warmer than that other one. Paint this tree in. Okay. Might even tilt that a little bit. Let that color run down to the bottom. Where's my board here? And then a little bit more. A little bit warmer still. Getting kind of dull though. Maybe I just need a touch of yellow. So, just to really warm that up. More yellow, not enough orange. Needed more yellow. It was turning more kind of brownish. There we go. Touch more yellow. There we go. All right. And that's about it, actually. Make that a little more faint right there. Make it a little fainter on top there too. Kind of create that sense of, you know, a little bit of light coming from the sky, making it a little bit lighter on top. And then lastly, all we need to do is we'll throw some shadows in there. I'll just take a little burnt umber, throw it in with some blue, make a dark color to kind of just, whoop, that bled in a little bit. That's all right. Should use my teeny tiny brush. Paint in a little, just a little. And then what I'm going to do is just a little shadow on the ground, maybe underneath there. A little bit. I don't want that faint. Whoop, it's bleeding on me, getting away from me. Terrible. I'll just kind of put these little shadows underneath. Tree trunk. A little shadow on the ground underneath. Not too dark, because it's not, it doesn't look like a super sunny day, so I don't want it too dark. Just a little shadow underneath, just to give it a little sense of light coming on the scene, you know, something like that. And that's about it. That's probably good enough. You know, if we wanted to, we could always do some deep greens in the foreground, any kind of deep green. Could throw some foreground grasses in here maybe to kind of create a sense of depth. It's a little common trick. Yeah, we'll just let that kind of taper out. Maybe we'll throw a couple in over on this side too. Kind of frame the scene a little bit, make it a little bit different. There we go. And there you go. You got a little kind of tiny little landscape there.